It's important to make the right decisions, like when to go for it on fourth down, or when to kick the field goal or go for the touchdown. It's also important to make the right insurance decisions, too. That's why my office, Trey McAdams State Farm, is here to help you select the right protection at the right price. Our office will make sure you understand your State Farm coverages, so you'll know what to expect when the unexpected happens. With Trey McAdams State Farm, it's easy to make the right call. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Proud sponsor of the Tennessee Vols.
Well, look who we have on the show today. Jimmy Himes making a nice guest appearance after Tennessee's back home after splitting a pair of road games. They get a nice 74-56 win over the Georgia Bulldogs. And credit to a second-half performance by the Tennessee Volunteers. But headlining all of it tonight was Zakai Zeigler, setting the all-time program record with 215 steals and a program record for single game 6 steals. He had tonight, surpassing Santiago Vescovil. It's funny, after last year when Santi had it, he's like, oh, Zakai's like, just know I'm coming for it next year. Only took about 17 games to get that done. Just your initial reaction watching Zakai Zeigler impact the game so much on the defensive end.
Well, he was terrific. He made the 6 steals, as you talked about. He did things on offense, including hitting threes. I thought he directed the offense really well. He got his typical number of assists. So I just thought he played an outstanding game. And it was interesting listening to Rick Barnes afterwards saying that it's a blessing to coach him. That I don't know what I would do without him, and he is my comfort blanket. To which Zakai Zeigler said, "Oh, I knew that."
Yeah, so, I love the confidence.
But I thought Ziegler was just outstanding.
Yeah, it was funny earlier in the season too. I asked Rick Barnes kind of similarly, like, what Zakai Zeigler has meant to the program. He's like, I wish I could bottle up the DNA of this team, and also he's like, I'm already waking up having dreams about Zakai and what it's going to be like when he's not here. So I think he's certainly, like a senior, cherishing these last few moments. But what he did in the second half absolutely roared Tennessee back. They went down in halftime down. And then Zakai Zeigler, part of, I think it was a 24-6 run.
26-4.
26-4 run to open up the second half. Part of that was Zakai Zeigler making 3 straight three-pointers, absolutely turning the game on its head. And then you hear Vol fans just erupting in the stadium. He says it's a huge credit to Vol fans that absolutely gets the team amped up. But what do you think was the biggest difference for this team to have been able to make such a great adjustment in the second half?
Well, they maintained the intensity on defense, so that was a part of it. I also thought the fact that they hit 7 of their first 11 shots in the second half. They shot miserably in the first half. Ziegler's 3 threes in a row certainly got the crowd into it, got the bench into it, got his teammates into
Everybody.
it. Got Rick Barnes into it because that comfort blanket showed up.
Yes.
So that was a big deal. And the other part of it was Tennessee went to a little bit of a press. And I thought it threw Georgia off a little bit. They struggled at times. They had a couple of turnovers against the press, didn't get into their offense very well. So I thought the press contributed as well. But I thought that 26-4 run to start the second half, I mean, that team looked like it was a top-ranked team in the country.
Oh, absolutely. It needs to go back up 5 spots from the number 6 that it's at. Also, we talked a little bit about in post-game as well, when you look at the drop coverage from Georgia, and Jordan Gainey absolutely able to take advantage of it. They're like, oh, when we practice that in practice, we know it's going to be a tough day when Jordan Gainey gets his hands on the ball, and he led the team in scoring against the Georgia Bulldogs. And part of that, too, really helped Tennessee turn it on in the second half.
Yeah, he got 14 of his 19 points in the second half. I think that's the second highest scoring game he had. He had 23 at Illinois when he just had played brilliantly and had that coast-to-coast layup to win that game. But he took over at the point guard late in that game, and Zeigler didn't play as many minutes as he usually does. And Gainey hit threes. He hit mid-range jump shots. He took it to the basket. He proved that he's a 3-level scorer. Boy, if they could bottle that up consistently from him, look out. But I thought he played exceptionally well, and he was part of a bench that contributed 29 points. Kate Phillips ended up with 10. So 2 players off the bench getting 29 points is huge.
Now, the other side to this offensive explosion in the second half is Chaz Lanier didn't really have that. Of course, we know everything after the Texas game where Rick Barnes saying the quiet part out loud that you're paid to make these types of shots. But while he went 2 of 6, from the 3-point line, Rick Barnes wanted to make sure that he wanted to highlight that he's actually getting a lot better in other aspects of his game, which is setting up his shot a lot faster, getting more equal to the speed of SEC play. And he's like, yeah, he's in the slump right now. We're not worried about it at all. He's going to continue to make progress and get out of that slump.
Yeah, nobody seemed to be too worried about it. And Chaz Lanier is the guy that comes with a lot of confidence. And even Jahmai Mashack was talking about how as good as Lanier is, he forces the defense to guard him, which opens up other players. So even though he may be missing shots, you still can't leave him.
Yeah.
And so, and Lanier's going to come back around. And we saw Dalton Connect go through slumps last year. You've seen great shooters go through slumps. Rick Barnes pointed that out multiple times with players that have had a few games where they missed fire. But Lanier's too good of a shooter not to return to that form. So I do think it's a pretty good message for Tennessee that you win a game comfortably when your best shooter and your best scorer goes 2 for 16 from the field.
Yeah, our point 3, and we'll have 4. I know we usually do 3 for post games. We'll do 4 tonight because Jahmai Mashack is the spark to this team. We know so much about that on defense. He had so many hustle plays for this team on defense on tonight, but on offense is where he really shined. Despite still being banged up in his pinky finger on the guiding hand, he was able to alter his jump shot a little bit, and we saw that for a perfect 5 of 5 from the field against Georgia.
Yeah, he hit a 3. He had a couple of mid-range shots. He had a couple of times he took it to the basket and scored. But that's what they need out of him. They need him to be a productive scorer. Doesn't have to have a great night, and I would consider 5 out of 5 pretty great. But you can't have 2 of your offensive players be non-factors. And Okpor is not a guy that's going to create a lot of shots. He's going to get alley-oops or he's going to get put-back baskets. But what Mashack did opened up things for Tennessee, in particular in the second half with his scoring. And he mentioned that pinky finger was bothering him. He took a lot of reps in adjusting his shot so he'd feel more comfortable. And he said he wasn't going to try it in a game until he felt comfortable in practice doing it. And so, and he said, look, when I was in high school and I was a hooper now, I could shoot. And he was a scorer.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember him telling me at one point that he was a better offensive player than a defensive player in high school.
Yep.
And he became a great defensive player at Tennessee. So, but he's a guy that if they can get that kind of production out of him, that certainly makes a difference. One other quick point I want to make is 19 offensive rebounds too.
Yeah, that's our 4th point.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we'll get to that right now. So the 4th takeaway absolutely is the offensive rebounding. So much of Rick Barnes' talk has been about Tennessee needing to be tougher in the post. They need to crash the boards. They absolutely did that. Igor Milicic had 9 total rebounds, continuing to lead the team. He had 5 offensive rebounds in the first half. 4 of them came off of missed 3, so out of area rebounds. And Rick Barnes says it's all about his effort. But absolutely, to have your offensive rebounding be the leading category, pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. And Tennessee couldn't throw it in the ocean in the first half. So they got 12 of their first 16 rebounds were offensive rebounds. That's pretty strong. And that's how they scored several points. And even transitioning to the second half, they got several dunks off of offensive rebounds, and that ignited the crowd as well. But to have 19 offensive rebounds and 18 defensive rebounds, you don't see that a lot. But that just tells you how good a rebounding team Tennessee is. And Tennessee ranks among the better offensive rebounding teams in the country. And they certainly showed it against Georgia.
Yeah, and they had 17 second chance points thanks to those offensive rebounds as well. And that's what kept this game close, especially in the first half when your shooting just really wasn't there. But those are our 4 takeaways. We're only doing 4 because we have Jimmy Himes in the house, so we have to do another one as we get his perspective on the game. We'll be back later this week as the teams head to Nashville to take on Vanderbilt, but we'll have the Lady Vols of Mississippi State on Thursday. So make sure you subscribe, and we'll be back tomorrow.